To me, it's like his house. No, seriously. To me, it's like his house was like this tree. It was like a seed that was planted in that neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? And in that neighborhood, it was a group of kids that all hung out together. But this one house was like the magnet. It was like the tree, the seed was planted there. And then from there, which was Sal's house, with his dad and everybody, his whole family and everybody from there. And then from there, it's like the branches just spread.
Exactly.
And then as the wind started blowing and the leaves started dispersing, leaves started falling in other neighborhoods. Me, I was born in Chicago at St. Mary's Hospital, North Side. Typical Puerto Rican. I was growing up in the 70s and 80s in Chicago. I was back and forth from the North Side and the South Side. North Side, South Side, North Side, South Side, all the time as a little kid. So I grew up on both sides of town, so that's how I grew up.
We want to know about the politics in the penitentiary, bro.
So, okay. The penitentiary look. So here the penitentiary look. So check it out. Hold on. So in the penitentiary look, in the penitentiary you had on the south side, you had all the major gangs that you had up there. You had Ambrose, 26, 26, 22s, SDs. You had somebody for everybody that was up there. Growing up in right off of 26th Street in the projects. I grew up in the projects as a little kid. But prior to that, I lived on 23rd and Trumbull as a little kid as well. And used to go back and forth from there to the projects there, back and forth. And then, I used to just being a little kid in that area. I watched, there's different gangs in that area growing up. Went to Spry School, Hammond, Harrison, when Harrison was a high school back in the day. In the daytime, that school was filled with all different kind of gangs. But they were mostly on the little village side from going more west.
Right.
So from the boulevard back.
Right.
So in between those schools was Harrison and Farragut of high schools that were in those areas, and which were mostly like, more Latin Kings and all that shit back in them days. And then, of course, Spry School. Spry School was right in the heart of where those Boulevard Kings were at.
Yeah.
So, that was their neighborhood back then. So, that was the geographical area over there. So you had Tutu Boys,
You said you went to Spry and it was all Kings at Spry, right?
Yeah.
So you went to an all Kings school.
Well, at the school, it was mostly Kings, but in that school there was nothing but, anything that was under the 5 back then. You had Kents, Deuces there. You know what I'm saying? You had all those.
It was mixed.
It was mixed there. Wow. So, but when you lived in that area, if they saw you as a threat and you didn't want to join their little clique, they try to jump on you and shit. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you had to make sure you had to find your way out through one of them side doors. You know what I'm saying? Because them niggas would be waiting for you and trying to get your ass. And that was a long ass run. So you got to box your way through. You got to box your way through. So, and then one day I just got tired of that shit. And then it's a history there. Going in through the system, and then, when you came in there, it's a whole different platform. All right, now we can talk about the 80s into the 2000s, and then you can talk from the 2000s and now. So in the 80s, when you came through in there, you had folks and people. And when you came in through the system, you had a bunch of guys that they would come. And they were here. Anyway, they were here. Word already got there. That, hey, say for instance, hey, Sal just got 6 years. Sal's coming down. They just sent him to Stateville. So the guys in Stateville already know Sal's coming. So, they'll be waiting for him. So, that stuff, it travels, and people be waiting for them, and you know who's there. So that's how it was. And then when you come in, you had the folks come. They'll have somebody that's assigned to that day for the guys that's coming in on the new. And when someone comes in on the new, they'll see him. They'll walk up to him. Hey, what you is or whatever. Or if you're a known dude already, they're going to come up to you and then they're going to get you out and they're going to take you up and put you in a cell. Because that's how it was, because we controlled inside there. You know what I'm saying? So when we came in, if you was one of the brothers, we got these cells. We going to put you in that cell. You weren't going to be on the floor. You see what I'm saying? So, it took time and time, even before I got there, where those brothers had to come together to organize that. And that's how them things did. And, that's how all that other stuff came to be, And then when that stuff was getting structured, we happened to be a part of that. We came in through there. And there was other brothers that were there before myself, that were there for some years. And when that came into play, it's already out there. It's nothing that I'm saying or anything, because it's been out there even before I even said this, So it's already out there, and we were right there. you know? And
we melted in,
and and that's just how it was. And when that time came, as we came up there, I was there, and I was there for the guys. So I would be there for the guys, and I would deal with every one of them you can think of. Mm-hmm. So I knew them all. I knew them all. I ain't gotta say no names, because if they were to watch this, they know. I know. I ain't gotta say no names, but I ain't hating on nobody, and I ain't taking nothing from nobody. But at the same time, it's just it was rough, man. It was rough, but at the same time, you had to you had to take it one way. Either you could take it laying down, or you could take it standing up.
Right.
And I chose to stand up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Life is full of surprises, and it depends, how you face them, and you can take adversity and turn it into something positive, and being in prison all those years, it woke me up to the realities of life, and the understanding of when you live this life, what can happen, and if you continue to walk in them ways, what can happen. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. Well, by all means, I don't want to feel disrespected in no form or fashion. And these brothers, like we were saying earlier, we were sitting around in tables. I've sat around in tables with all different kind of brothers. You name it, from all sides. Latin folks, you name them. Whatever Latin folks you can think of. Latin kings, unknowns, vice lords, all of us. We all talk to each other and respect each other, from where I came from. And seeing that can be done, I know that there's it can be done. It just, you gotta want. You know what I'm saying? You gotta want. And, and if you want it, you can make it happen. You know what I'm saying? And being in prison ain't fun. Being there all those years and being away from your family and loved ones, that's not, I don't wish that on nobody. And, there's still some brothers that are there from when I was there, and, there's some good people that were there, and then there's some people that deserve to be there, shit like that. But I mean, that's not no life to live. But if you want to live that life, and you want to be the thug, and you know, we've been there, done that, and we know where it can lead, you know, and our whole message is trying to get, you know, you not to have to witness that yourself. You know what I'm saying? It don't make you no punk or you know, soft because you're trying to give somebody some knowledge. You know, I thought like that at one time myself, you know, but then I got, you know, taught by a brother, you know, that said, hey man, you know, you could either do this, sit here, stay here for the rest of your life, or you can educate yourself. You know, I said, man, you know, I'm gonna educate myself, and I want to learn more. So as I started learning more, I started learning more about the law and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And then I applied it. So, you know, I applied it, and then once I applied it, you know, had I not raised my hand, you know, I wouldn't be here today, where they offered me those 13 years, you know, so I can get out early. You know what I'm saying? You know, because I already like I said earlier, I already did the time. I already did the 40. And so, you know, now the 226s, they turn them 13, so now I do those. So, you know, that was my way to get out. You know, and that's the way it is, bro. You know, that's the way it is. I mean, you know, if these brothers want to continue to live that lifestyle, man, and then, you know, when you're in there, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But you can, when you're in there, don't blame nobody but yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't blame no one but yourself. Because there's been many a times, you know, people try to pull your coat and try to tell you, you know, a hard ass. You know, they say a hard head makes a soft ass. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we have that, man, because we don't want to listen. So we have to find out the hard way. You know, and sometimes you have to go through some things in life, man, to realize, you know, what you want out of life. You know what I'm saying? You know, the politics of shit, it wasn't no different than how you see politics on the news, world governments, United Nations type shit. All that shit it was all similarities, man. You know, all that shit was all the same, man. And you know, people use it to. You had people that were smart with the law. They would use those laws that were set forth to try to fuck other people around because that law says that law. Or,
catch up.
You know, catch up games. And, you know, all kind of bullshit, man. You know, man, if I had to go all over again, man, would I wish this on my worst enemy? Fuck no.
I was just about to ask, what do you have, advice or like a message to the youth out there doing stupid shit?
Well, you know, the only thing I can tell you is like this. Like I said earlier. You know, I can tell you whatever you want me to tell you till you're blue in the face. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want you to have to witness that shit. I don't want you to have to live that and have to see it or be away from your family or any of that shit. I don't want that for you. But if that's the life that you're living,
you're real.
You can be real about it, and then when it comes to you, you know, you got to take it on the chin. Yeah. Don't fault nobody for your indiscretions in life. No. You know, just be a man and take it on the chin.
Time.
You know, and if that causes you to see something that is more better for you in life, and you need to move forward in your life, and you want to, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. I ain't taking that from nobody. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's just. You live, as you grow, you learn.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, now, not only that, you get a second chance on life. You know what I'm saying? You see the things, it's totally different than from when we're out there on the street. And when we were out there on the street, when we was out there banging, I was beating motherfuckers up because he was a king. Mm-hmm. Or because he was wearing black and gold. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or sneaking up on this nigga, man, because I know he snuck up on me type shit, you know, or he popped at me, fuck you, I'm going to get you type shit. I ain't saying nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's how we played it back then.
Yeah.
But then when